Well, we're out by Hendra Lake now and preaching, what is it, part 2. We thought in part 1 that it's the greatest thing that a man could ever do, the greatest of all human activities. We considered too that it is teaching, we're imparting knowledge, but it's more than a teaching gift. A preacher is one who is lifted and elevated. There's something dynamic, unpredictable about it. Lloyd Jones spoke about the romance of preaching. So thinking now, what is preaching? Let's make some advancement on that. It is always the gospel. It is always the gospel, the euangelizo, good news. Now, it contains bad news. Before you can get good news, maybe from a doctor, you have to have the bad news first of all. You have a condition. But if we do this treatment, there's every chance. Now with the gospel, there's bad news that people are sinners. But we need always to get to the good news. There's not just an option which might be successful. But the gospel is entirely successful if applied to the soul of any human being. It contains bad news, but we always get to the good news. And where we're preaching from? Well, the whole Bible, Genesis through to Revelation, is the good news. It's the whole of the Bible in every aspect. Paul said to the Ephesian elders, I have not failed to declare to you the whole counsel of God. So in your preaching, you're going to be in every single area of the Bible. But having said that, you're always going to get to the essence of what the Bible is all about. The Bible's all about Jesus. So in a sense, we can say the Bible is Christocentric, Christ-centered. But we can't stop there. It's more than being Christ-centered. My preaching must be Christ-centered, but more than that. I'll speak about his person, that he is the eternal Son of God who became a real man. One person and two natures. That's his person. But I must get to his work. So I'd say the Bible isn't only Christocentric, it's cross-centric. He came to take away the sin of the world. It's his person and his work. And it's in the whole of the Bible. Doesn't matter which passage you're preaching from. You must get to Jesus Christ and his work. On the Emmaus Road, Jesus explained to those two disciples who were so blind. He opened their eyes as he spoke about himself from all the scriptures. Train just going by now. You get it there? Woo! And when speaking to the Jews, he says in John's Gospel, you earnestly, diligently search the scriptures, thinking that in them you'll find life. But all those scriptures speak about me, Christ in all the scriptures. So I'd ask you a question. Here's a challenge. Think about the last sermon that you preached. Could a Muslim have preached your sermon? Could a Muslim have preached your sermon? If so, it wasn't a Christian sermon. Every Christian sermon must get to Jesus Christ, his person and his work. Remember being asked once in going to preach as a young preacher in my 30s, an elder said to me, we don't need the gospel here, we're all believers. Two things about that. Firstly, how did he know? How did he know? The weeds and the wheat grow together. How did he know? Only God knows that there are some who will be deceived. But more than that, believers need the gospel. I need the gospel. Every day I need the gospel. I need to hear about Jesus Christ, his wonderful person, his work for me. Under the sound of the gospel, my pride is destroyed and humility is cultivated in me. It's in the light of the gospel that I can live a Christian life. Only in the power of the cross, Christ in me, his person and his work. After those 11 great chapters on the gospel in Romans, Paul says, therefore, In view of God's mercies, let's offer our bodies as a living sacrifice. This is only our reasonable response to the gospel. All need the gospel continually. Unbelievers, that they might be converted. Believers, that we might continue to live the life divine. What is preaching? The greatest of all human activities. It is teaching, but it's more than teaching. What's it teaching about? Jesus Christ, his person and his work. And we find him in all the scriptures. Make sure every sermon gets to Jesus Christ, his person and his work. Let's pause there again, and we'll think about how we go about preaching in a moment.